As soon as I start talking, George wants in on the action. Hold on. It's like he knows as soon as I start talking to the camera, he's jumping at my feet and he's crying and he wants to come up. But yes, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited. Today is the start of my Halloween 2023 videos. Can we get a hell yeah? Hell yeah! Okay, I hope you enjoy. We are starting strong with this video, guys. We are going full on Let's Resin chameleon powders. Where do I start with these? They come into their own at Halloween. I said it in the last video. Is it even Halloween if you don't have the Let's Resin chameleon powders? I know I'm an affiliate, I get it, but listen, these are absolutely, truly beautiful powders. Anyone in the comment section who's used them will also validate exactly what I'm saying, and they're perfect for this. This mold is next level stunning, literally gives me goosebumps. If you remember a while back, I did a video where I actually showed you some more high-end elite, more expensive molds. This was part of that haul. I bought it myself from sorry, George has just jumped off the sofa. I bought it myself from I Love Mixed Media here in the UK. Now, of course, this is a Finnabair mold, and that is more widely available in the USA. So if you are in the USA, you will probably be able to get hold of this mold way easier than we can in the UK. We end up having to pay massive money on Amazon, or lucky for us, we've got Denise over at I Love Mixed Media. So if you are interested in this mold or any of the other stunningly spectacular Finnabair molds, I will link I Love Mixed Media down in the description box so you can get your hands on those. And I'll also add a card here where I show you everything I bought from Denise. It was all purchased myself. None of this is sponsored at all. But when I saw this mold on I Love Mixed Media's Instagram, I just about died. Like, I just about fainted. If you know me, you know my love for Apothecary. My Halloween aesthetic, I can only describe it as that dark kind of macabre, not fully macabre, but very dark blacks, purples, very much down the apothecary line with a lot of that kind of gothic element thrown in. I rarely do the fun and bright and colourful orange and purples and whites kind of Halloween. I'm very much down the more darker purple and black Halloween. I hope I'm making sense. Once I dusted the mold with all of the chameleon shades, now I didn't use every single one. I used the ones that really work with that kind of Halloween vibe. I'm backing them all with black resin. I'm using the Vista Black Pigment in epoxy resin just to back them. Any epoxy resin that you have will do this job. Anything will work, but I am using craft resin in this video, and I will link that down below for you guys, as well as your discount code. I'm loving craft resin at the moment as well. Like, the hardest thing, I no longer work for one company. I've got so many resins to try out. It's just so hard because I literally love them all. Anyway, here we are. You can see that I am taking my time to individually use my wooden lollipop stick to place resin down in. Now, these molds aren't necessarily that deep, but I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to be so neat. I don't really know at this point. I have to be honest. I didn't really know when I was pouring this mold what I was then going to do with it. The actual project that comes after this, it just evolved over the space of a couple of days, and then I got a brand new mold sent to me from Molds and Shapes, and I saw it and I thought, absolutely yes, it is exactly what I needed to take these apothecary bottles to the next level. And immediately I knew where this project was going. You will have noticed that some of the bottles on this mold, like the one I'm just about to pour, this one, some of them are embossed. They've got the most gorgeous little oldie worldy labels on them that say things like poison and all of that. Now, honestly, listen, I am not here hating. I'm not. I just wish there were more. I think the whole mold is so packed full of bottles and only about 5 of them are embossed, and I just wish, that's my one wish, I wish, you know, at least half of them had some more detail on, but that's okay. We're crafty. We can create our own detail. And this is where I'm like, so much for being neat. I actually ran out of resin. Like, I ran out of resin right at the very last minute. And there were a couple of bottles that were just so empty. I couldn't carry on thinking I have to make more resin. Alternatively, we do the scrape and we get our lollipop stick and we scrape over the surface of the mould to make sure that that resin is equally dispersed throughout every single little intricate bottle, and it's easy to clean up afterwards. It's just a little bit of faff. This is the next day and it was time to demold them, and honestly, I'm not going to take you through each and every single bottle when I'm demolding it, but just look at this detail. Oh my gosh, guys. I think this says dill, ammonia, something like that. And again, that is repeated. So it's the same thing. It's almost like, yeah. Anyway, I'm not saying any more on it, but there are so many bottles with this one design on it, and even still, I absolutely love them. Even the bottles that haven't got any lettering embossed, they're still beautiful. This one here, I can't even read it. All I can read is poison. And then all of that other detail is just so miniature. So yeah, even the bottles that don't have the wording embossed, they've still got some detail. They've still got ridges and lines. Really perfect for adding your embellishing wax. This embellishing wax was actually sent to me by Denise over at I Love Mixed Media. I've had it, I want to say, well and truly over a year right now. It is unbelievable and it smells so good. I know I shouldn't say that. Like, it is non-toxic, but it smells divine. Absolutely divine. All I'm doing is putting a teeny tiny dab on my finger. I'm kind of rubbing 2 fingers together to get it to not much. It's like a brush on, brush off technique. Now, again, am I a mixed media artist? I wouldn't necessarily class myself as a mixed media artist in the same elite level that I see from Denise and all of her friends over on her Facebook page. Oh my gosh, their work is unbelievable. And of course, my friend, Crafty by Tony, here on YouTube. I don't put myself in the same bracket as them, so I don't actually know if I'm using this wax right, is where I was going with that story. I just like it. I love using it. I love just rubbing it on with my finger just to highlight all of those embossed areas. And I did this to all of the bottles that had the embossing on it. Now, all of those bottles at the bottom, they're plain. And oh my goodness, I took it to the next level, guys. I absolutely had to. I was thinking to myself, how am I going to make these bottles more than they are? Because they're so plain. And then I thought, why don't I do what I do in all of my Apothecary Bottle videos and put labels on them? And I'm sorry, how cute is this? I actually printed off. So I went onto Google and I typed in free apothecary or witch's potion bottle labels, apothecary labels. I typed in free. So as long as they're free, I can print them off, I can use them. And I printed everything from teeny tiny diddly little ones all the way up to the larger ones, which will fit the larger bottles. Now, of course, paper, this kind of normal printer paper, if you put this in resin, it's gonna just not work. It will disintegrate, or the resin will seep into it and it will darken it up to the point where you just can't see anything. So I need to protect these labels at all costs when I'm attaching them to the bottles, because yes, these bottles are going on another journey. They are going to be put into resin. And the way to do this was to basically wrap them in tape. This is packing tape or like sellotape, your normal kind of tape, basically. Making sure that all of the edges of all of the labels have got tape covering them. And also the tape itself is fully, totally and utterly 100% stuck to the bottle. So pushing it down with your finger, really, really sealing that label in so that when we put resin over the top, the resin will not get under that tape. Then I had a brainwave. Oh my goodness me. I've got the gyro cut tool, not sponsored by the way, I bought this myself. I lost the will to live. Like I literally cut out 3 labels and I thought, this is not my life. This is not my life. I can't do this. So then I saw my gyro cut sitting there. I was like, wait a minute. Why don't I just use that? It makes so much sense. This is what the gyro cut was actually designed for. And when you see the gyro cut company in exhibitions, this is what they're doing. They've got paper stuck down and I've got it actually stuck on my Cricut cutting mat. What a dream. What a dream. I can't even, like, again, I bought this tool myself. This is not sponsored. I'm obsessed, totally and utterly obsessed. It cut my workload down 100-fold and I was just loving it so much. And it just allowed me to cut out so many more labels in a much, much shorter space of time. And again, I'm not going to show you every single bottle that I label, but you get the idea. Making sure that your paper labels are completely and utterly covered and protected in tape is the way to go. You just need to make sure that your resin does not get in and under that tape in any way. It's time. It's time to do the resin. So when it came to the mold, I am using purple and green. These are from Just View Online and from the Colour Cottage, but the Colour Cottage are no longer in business. So any purple mica will do. Any background colour will actually do. It's up to you. Look at this mold. This mold is the brand new actually, pendant mold from Moulds and Shapes, and I am utterly obsessed with it. It is a 9-compartment pendant mold, perfect for keychains. Honestly, it is a chunky beast of a mold and they are deep. They are so deep and they're around 5.5 centimeters across. And as soon as I got this in the post, I knew this would be perfect for the Apothecary bottles because they all fit in there so perfectly. Everything just came together and I was so happy. This is what I'm going to be using as well. This is the creepy cloth or the spooky cloth, whichever one. You actually get it from Poundland around the Halloween season to decorate your home, put it, around your door or over your bookshelves and things like that when you're decorating for Halloween. I've had this creepy cloth sitting there literally years and I thought we could cut this up and put it in just to add to some of that old medicine stroke apothecary store, like back in the 1800s, 1600s even, when you'd go in and get your potions in these oldie worldy glass bottles just to make it a little bit more kind of creepy and give it that poison aesthetic. I hope you catch my drift. So the top 2 are purple, then green, and then the bottom 3 are just a mixture of the green and the purple. So I've also made some more bottles because I had some leftover resin. So this is the next day. My plan is to create a miniature are you all right, George? He's shaking next to me. To create a miniature apothecary witch's potion store in a keyring. I'm sorry, how cool is that? That's my plan. And to do that, I just need a little bit of resin. And I mean truly a little bit. Now, remembering that this is a layered piece, and what I really don't want is for those apothecary bottles to protrude through the surface of my keyrings. I want them to be well and truly embedded. So the teeny amount of resin just to smush across the surface to get the cloth to stick down and then to get the bottles to stick down before we fully finish. So this is a lengthy one. It did take me a few days, totally worth it, but each layer was a 24-hour cure. Again, it's craft resin, so I just wanted to make sure that I gave it the full cure time. I'm just chopping up some of this creepy cloth. Now, as soon as I cut up this creepy cloth, it became very clear that it's not going to maintain that pattern. It's not going to maintain its shape. And I thought that's absolutely fine because A, we go with the flow, and B, it's probably going to look even more creepy if I just put it in random clumps and place it down and then smush it around with my finger to make sure that it is fully embedded. Now, this video is such a long video, so I just want to say thank you so much if you are still here. I didn't show you each and every second of each and every bit of detail. Like here, I've just put the cloth in and now you're seeing me smush it down. You didn't see me label every single bottle because otherwise that would have made this video a literal hour long. But thank you so much. This is definitely one of my longer projects and honestly, to me, totally worth it because this was, you know, took a few days to make. But what you can see me doing here is just smushing down the fabric into the resin with a gloved hand, of course, before placing down my apothecary bottles. So the way it's working out is that each and every witch's apothecary store keyring is going to have one bottle that's got a label on it, one bottle that is embossed with some embellishing wax, and then either one or two bottles that are simply plain. Now, of course, you could go to town, you could do whatever you want, you could make every single bottle completely labelled. It was time consuming. It was time consuming, guys. Even with the gyro cut tool, that was just the beginning. Like cutting them out with the gyro cut was the easy part. I actually figured I didn't want those labels to overtake, you know, and I was quite happy with a selection and a mixture. Now, some of these bottles, of course, are bigger than others. Some are teeny tiny, like minuscule, absolutely tiny. So some of these witches apothecary store pendants, stop it now, actually have 4 bottles in and some just have 3, and that's purely down to size. I'll be honest, there was about 5 I couldn't use because they were gigantic. They were way too big for this mold from Moulds and Shapes, and this mold from Moulds and Shapes, guys, I have to tell you, it's probably my favorite mold. It's up there as my favorite mold right now because it's just so versatile. It is literally so versatile and you could use it for 1,000 different things. And yeah, I love it. And of course now you now get 10% off at Moulds and Shapes using my code. So if you're interested in this mold, do check it out in the description box below. This is what we're looking like. I messed up with the tape on that big one there, but other than that, they are all looking pretty cool. Now, bear in mind that the Finnabair molds are matte. And I said it in the previous video as well. The Finnabair molds are matte. So matte molds are really not going to show the true vibrancy of a chameleon powder. The only way to do that is to top coat in resin, and that is when we get that magic. And much like the last video, this is the problem with trying to get ahead on videos. I didn't film me filling these up completely. Don't know why, but this is what they're looking like. I'm obsessed. Like, I am so obsessed. This sums up me as a Halloween crafter. This sums up my vibe. I absolutely love these so much. You can see on this one the resin seeped in under the tape, but luckily it didn't do too much damage to any of them. I literally can't even pick my favorite. Like, one second I think it's this one here, like it's got that mixture of green and purple at the back and absolutely gorgeous, and then this one, I fully love it. They are exactly what I wanted. They are the creepy witches apothecary, you know, you're carrying around your little poisons with you on a key ring. It's so up my street. The colours, everything about it, I absolutely love. Now, the edges are wispy. 2 things here. First thing is that the edges are wispy because I didn't really fully clean the mold before giving them a final top coat. If there's any resin residue or splashes, or if you've brought resin accidentally out of the mold, it's going to sit around that edge, making the edge fuzzy. Secondly, winter is coming, guys, because look at this. I got Amina blush. Amina blush, however you say it, this is the first time in a long time that I got some Amina blush. We are going to fix it in this video, not a problem. This is what happens to any resin when your temperatures plummet overnight. I'll talk more about that in a second. First, I'm going to get rid of the wispy edges. Now, you saw the deburring tool there. You can, of course, use your deburring tool, but I honestly think because this is at the surface, I don't want to use the deburrer. The deburrer sometimes takes away too much and I'm not keen. So what I am doing is just giving them a really light, gentle, real gentle rub on some 1000 grit sandpaper. Now, you could even use 1500, which I do also use. Just rubbing it around on the corner edge is going to get rid of all of those wispy bits. And again, this wasn't spill off. This was because I didn't really thoroughly clean the mold. I didn't see that I had some resin overspill, you know, from putting the cloth in or moving the bottles around. I had a few extra bits there. So making sure that you've got a clean mold before you top coat is going to get rid of that. Now we're going to get rid of the blush. This job, if you know me, you know I don't like sanding. So honestly, I sanded each and every single one of these pendants. I had to. Every single one of these pendants had some blush on it. And again, that is because the temperature in my craft room has dropped suddenly of an evening. And of course, we are now in September. September is the time for amino blush. And that is a lesson learned to all of us. So my plan moving forward will be to use my heat mat. It's time to get the heat mats out and leave my mold to cure on a heat mat. Hopefully, A, that will speed it up, and B, it will take away any risk associated with that blush on the top. Now, there are two ways you can top coat. That's either epoxy resin or UV resin. Hand on heart, at this point, I feel like I've already spent 7 years on these. So I did opt for the UV resin route. But because I've thoroughly, totally and utterly sanded the surface of every single one of these 9 pendants, I was confident that the UV resin would stick. Now, if you guys follow Wendy over at Toonfish Crafts, you'll know that she actually did an experiment to see if UV resin actually does stick to epoxy resin. And it doesn't. Like, it sticks if you leave it alone. But if you get a chisel and a sharp blade or a craft blade, you can easily chip off UV resin from epoxy resin. However, firstly, I sanded these. I really sanded these. I made the surfaces really gritty, which means that the UV resin is gonna cling, and I mean really cling to the surface of the epoxy resin. And secondly, I just don't have the patience. I don't have another day. I don't have another day to do the epoxy resin. And honestly, sometimes life is like that. I'm happy with my decision to use UV. Also, I'm very happy with the fact that I didn't get one single spill off. Not on all 9 pendants, guys. I was so proud this day. I hit them all with my long neck lighter. Now, this step is optional. What I did do was I kind of cured it real fast around the edges, and in the center where you put your key ring loop, I did a flash cure with my UV pen. And honestly, I was kind of paranoid that if I moved it under the UV light, that the UV would seep down into that loophole, and I didn't want to do that. So I gave it a quick flash cure before putting it under the UV light, and I just continued. I did this to every single pendant. And even this one here, you can see that I actually over poured on the ring where you put the key ring. So that's going to have to be a drill. And look at these, absolutely just unbelievable. I love them so much. I actually am fully obsessed. I went ahead and I made some faux leather rope purple tassels because it has to be purple. I was toying with the idea of buying green, but then I was like, I'll literally never use it. I'll never use it again. So I've added in my keychains, and onto the keychain I add in that purple tassel, and I am literally buzzing. I am unbelievably buzzing. I am chuffed with how these turned out. My face aches from smiling so hard. Top left and second top left, my favorites. I'm definitely drawn to the ones that have 4 bottles in there as opposed to 3. Now, when we talk about design and interior design and art, we always talk about 3s, you know, the odd numbers. We always work towards odd numbers, but the ones with 4, I just love them. I love them so much. I love the mould. I love the apothecary bottles. I love you, if you are still here, almost 25 minutes in. I'm sorry. Who is Claire? What have I done with her? This is by far probably my longest crafty video ever on my channel, but I hope you think it's worth it, because I think every second of this project was just a labour of love. It was one of those projects that it just evolved as it went on. Everything from the paper labels down to using this brand new mould that just appeared at my door just in time to create these Witch's Apothecary Store potion bottle keyrings. Oh my gosh. Happy Halloween crafting, guys. Can you feel my face and how hard it is smiling right now? I am literally in love. I am going to go before this video turns into a 3-hour gush meltdown about Halloween. Okay, I hope you've loved it. I hope you feel inspired. And if you do go ahead and recreate this, which is what I'm here for, by the way, I'm more than happy for you guys to take this, run with it, do it, create your own, copy mine exactly. I do not mind. Just tag me, #ClairMadeMeDoIt, and I will see you in the next video.